Hey, good morning. I'm Pat Seekins with the Rocky Mountain Area Type 1 Incident Management Team doing operations, and I'm here to give you an update on the Tamarack fire. So we're going to start today on the northeast corner of the fire, Division Kilo, right here just east of Highway 89. As I mentioned yesterday, really good containment. So there's been really good success here over the last 2 to 3 days with direct dozer line and hand line all the way out here to the northeast corner where they've come down into this creek. So this is looking really good. Everything's looking really good. A lot of good work done by dozers and hand crews. So we're really feeling very confident and secure about this location east of Highway 89. As we move to the northeast here, things get a little different. We get into a little tougher ground. Fairly steep and rugged terrain and some thicker fuels. This fire was very active yesterday. This fire picked up early, late morning and extended through the afternoon and evening. And that fire really wanted to push towards the state line and really get out there and get well established. And it was very active along the entire perimeter. So the focus here was back along the Highway 395. That was the primary focus, to limit any kind of fire spread and protect some of these values. A lot of values, everything west of Highway 395. So that was the primary focus on the northeast side of the fire. We really ramped up our resources with crews and engines and provided a presence as well as dozers to exclude some of these primary homes along Highway 395, which was critical. As that fire continued to progress, they continued to look for indirect options, which was pretty limited. And obviously, working right along the fire's edge yesterday was not feasible or doable with the firefighters just based on the fire behavior. There was a lot of aircraft utilized over here. So, fortunately with the fire behavior that did pick up, we did have clear air that did allow us to use the Type 1, the large helicopters, as well as the large fixed-wing aircraft that use fire retardant to lay down retardant out ahead of the fire, as well as helicopters right along the fire's edge where we could get some firefighters in. So aircraft use was heavy yesterday and very successful, which was a nice surprise that we could actually use aircraft that we hadn't been able to use in the last 3 to 4 days. So moving around to the east side of the fire, the focus yesterday as well as moving forward today is going to be Leviathan Mine is the, there's going to be some folks in there today that are going to protect some of those structures. So we're going to move out and focus on some of these values at risk. In here, as well as looking for indirect options, a little further out away from the fire's edge based on fire behavior. Sliding down to the southeast here, right along the fire's edge. Once again, yesterday things were very active as far as fire behavior goes. So firefighters, once again, were looking further out, looking for better options, and we were still having a difficult time finding better options based on the fire behavior, and they were more focused on the values at risk on Leviathan Mine, as well as all along the 395 corridor. So once again, this was a high priority yesterday for our folks on the ground, as well as the aircraft. Sliding southeast into Division Tango, we get into some really steep, rugged terrain in here. We do not have any crews in place here. This was monitored by aircraft. This was fairly active yesterday as far as fire behavior, but no real concerns or values as we move to the south and east. So that's kind of key, that we focused on the higher values and most of the resources. But as we come down to the south and southeast of the fire, those values lessen. This is very steep, rugged terrain. So we got to think about firefighter risk and really what's out here, value short of the ground that we're protecting. So that's a risk-based decision we all use, from the operational standpoint. Coming around the south end of the fire, a lot of the same. We come in here, a lot of rock, a lot of natural barriers that are kind of limiting the fire spread to the south. However, there's still some fire activity here, but there's these natural barriers that are rocks and a lot of terrain that is fighting, and with those predominant southwest winds, really no threat or concern on the south end of the fire at this point. Sliding up to the west side of the fire, Division Alpha. Once again, a lot of the same as Zulu. Steep, rugged terrain, limited values to the south, and not a lot of fire spread to the southwest. So once again, we're focused on our priorities on the northwest and northeast portions of the fire. As we come around to the west side here, we move into Division Foxtrot, where this becomes a critical piece of line to limit fire spread to the west and also to the north towards Highway 88. So most of our resources right here are focused on this high priority area west of Highway 89. We have an indirect line that goes all the way down to 88. And those crews are really focused on keeping that fire west of 89 and then this indirect line, and obviously keeping the fire south of 88. So once again, I will clarify, there is no fire north of Highway 88 as we speak right now. That fire is hung up here. It is slowly moving towards Highway 88. We have multiple firefighters protecting these values south of 88, and that'll be the primary focus today moving forward. So a high priority area here. As this fire moves down, there'll be firefighters moving down along with it and putting a little fire down as needed. But this is going to be a primary focus throughout today and throughout night shift. In and around Woodfords, everything on the west side of Woodfords is a primary holding feature that'll be the primary focus today and through night shift. We have a structure group established, and I'd like to mention structure group. We do have some folks that'll be a high priority in Mesa Vista, assessing structures, coming up with a structure protection plan, just in the event things continue to move to the northeast. We have a structure group focused in Woodfords that'll continue to have a high presence. We have that same structure group with a high presence here in Markleyville. Okay, that'll be a primary focus still. Even though the fire is burned around here, there's still some containment that we need to continue to secure that edge and make sure we don't get surprised. So we do have a high presence of engines and firefighters in and around Markleyville, and that'll continue through day shift and night shift. We do have a presence here in Grover Hot Springs to the west. So this will be their focus of patrols and monitoring from Grover Hot Springs to Markleyville, up to Woodfords, and of course a high presence in Mesa Vista. And then we also have a separate structure group that's really focused on these high values along Highway 395 that runs all the way down just west of Holbrook. Okay, so that'll be a primary focus once again for that group. And then one other value of risk at Leviathan Mine. We will protect those structures too. Looking to mitigate that today and get folks out of there because it's really not a defendable spot, but we do want to protect those values. We are staffing this fire 24 hours a day once again, so night shift will be a heavy presence in and around Markleyville, Woodfords, and Highway 395, as well as our high priority, the backing fire here that's backing down into just west of Woodfords. And once again, I'll mention aircraft use will continue, and we expect the aircraft use to be heavy and often where we can be successful and utilize those aircraft with the good clean air that we have. We're going to take full advantage and be aggressive where we can be successful. And that's where we're at.